Thank you for tuning into our podcast. We are coming to you from South Hadley, Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining me is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Camus. He offers both public and private tours, as well as presentations of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, South Hadley, and Chicopee, Mass. Now you actually lead these tours and give these presentations yourself, is that correct?
That is correct, and this is a presentation.
So today he'll be educating us on the Newton family of Holyoke. So give an introduction to the Newton family of Holyoke.
All right. In the beginning of Holyoke, there weren't many powerful individuals, but around 1864, a family of 4 brothers moved into Holyoke. And what they did was then start up mills on their own that they would use, and they would also, once you got even more money, they would finance other mills for other individuals. And then one of the brothers really got into how to build these mills, and a lot of very strong mills were built at that point. Now, they had made their money making parts of the railroad up in Vermont and up in northern Massachusetts, making tunnels, making railroad cuts. And they had gotten lots of money into the family. And they kept trying to develop, and it succeeded. And the members of this family, including other brothers, but mostly it was 4 of these brothers that did most of the job. And what we're going to talk about is what the members did, where they lived, what they ended up running as a mills, and what they ended up building or financing, because they found a lot of important mills. And we'll get specific on some of the brothers because some of them did much more than others.
So where did the members of the Newton family live?
Okay, most importantly, this year, the year 2023, James Newton was one of the brothers, and he is going to be part of a presentation I'm giving this year. And it's going to happen November 16th. If it's after that date, you'll get to read about it, at least on my webpage, and hopefully they'll videotape it. Anyways, it's going to take place at Holyoke Public Library. It's going to be called A Holyoke Home Through Time, 159 Chestnut Street. And he had a home built, and also he lived there from about 1868, when it was built, until about the year 1910. And his 3 sons and 1 daughter were born there, and 3 of his grandsons were born there. And we'll talk about that family in the house after they had left. Now, there's other members of the family. There's Moses Newton, and Moses Newton lived right behind James Newton, and then a little bit to the north, so about maybe 20 feet more to the north. And the street is Elm Street. Sadly, the home is not there anymore. And the next one after that is Daniel Newton. Daniel Newton lived on Elm Street, and he lived at the southeast corner of Elm and Essex. The house is there. It does have Newton sign on it, but otherwise you can see it's a grand house. It's a very large house. And Daniel was the one that was mostly into construction, so you can see he probably made his house, himself, designed it himself, and was out there building it himself with helpers. And then lastly, there was John Newton, and John Newton was at the northeast corner of Cabot and Elm. The house is not there anymore. It was taken down only about 25 years ago. So 3 of the brothers lived on Elm Street and 1 on Chestnut Street.
And quickly, before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, if you want to find out more information or sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there he has both videos of the various stops along each tour and also past and present photos of the historical sites throughout as well. And if you're interested in setting up a private tour, you can email him directly at bobcat4214, and they are perfect for fun and educational outdoor activities for the whole family or for your group parties, especially those special occasions and get-togethers. And they are also good just for getting outdoors for the day. So getting back to our interview, what are some of the mills that the Newton family ran, made, and financed?
All right, now, I didn't combine those three statements into one for no reason. They ran some of the mills themselves. They built some of the mills themselves, and only for other individuals. Some of the mills they built and sold quickly to others, and some they financed, knowingly financed them for others. And thus, they were big dealers around Holyoke. I think if there are 80 mills at the peak of the industry of Holyoke on the canal, then the Newton brothers probably had something to do with 30 of those mills. And I'm still finding out how much they did in each one. It was such a beautiful, a wonderful family that did a lot. Now, what did they do? I'll tell you, Moses was mostly into his own company, which was Newton Paper Company on the third level canal, making heavy duty paper like carpet lining paper, some cardboard paper. The Newtons, as a joint affair, ran a chemical paper company, and this was made by Daniel and then financed and run by James Newton with a little help from Moses. And then also James Newton had the Warrigan built for himself to run as an individual, and he did that with the help later of two of his sons. And he also had the Norman paper mill built, and later his son, one of his sons, would run that one. And then there's another mill called the Albion that was constructed by Daniel Newton. And for financing, the Far Alpaca mill, when Herbert Farr came into town, he needed money, and that mill site was financed by the Newton brothers in 1873. In 1874, the Skinner family came to the city, and William Skinner needed financing, and as a joint finance, he was helped by Holyoke Water Power Company and by the Newton brothers. And the Newtons not only financed a lot of mills, there was many more, they also financed and ran banks. So James Newton ran the Holyoke Savings Bank, the Home National Bank. He started up, he became president of the Hadley Falls Trust Company. And you can see this is just a bit of what they did. I could skim over a few more, and you get to see how incredible their work was. Daniel made many more mills in Holyoke, probably made the Innovation Mill on Cabot Street. He probably made the Valley Paper Company. He made a lot of schools around Massachusetts. James Newton also built the Massasoit, ran that for a few years. And he helped Apprentice Mill be developed. And all these things were done by these four individuals. I'm talking about most of the large things. They also did tiny things. They got their own lumber yard going because there wasn't enough lumber around. They got their own pulp mill going. They got their own energy site going. And whenever something needed to be done, you can count on they would get it going because they knew it was going to help their finances. It was also going to help the whole family at large in Holyoke. And so, who was the most important family in Holyoke? Definitely the Newton brothers.
So what did each of the four Newton brothers do?
Okay, so there were many brothers. Four of them were most important to Holyoke. There was one named Solon Newton who might have came to Holyoke, but he ended up being a minister out in northern Massachusetts, especially around Greenfield. And there was a Joseph Newton who ran or who did some mill work, but mostly it was James, Moses, Daniel, and John. And James, you could say mostly he was a financier. He loved starting up banks, but he also ran and started up a few mills himself, including the Warrigan. Moses, he helped his brothers a lot in the beginning, and it wasn't until later that he started up his own mill, and that was a Newton paper mill. Daniel was the builder, and he constructed he constructed probably 30 mills around Holyoke. And most of them were the paper mills. For instance, the Valley, the Albion, the Crocker, were all made by this family. They made their own mills in Random, including the Warrior, the Massasoit, the Newton, the Chemical Paper Company. And then there was John, who was the helper and the builder too. He was mostly an assistant to his brothers. And you can see their great work has really carried Holyoke along during the prime years. And a lot of their buildings are still there. And they're still functional. So we owe a lot in Holyoke to this Newton family.
So thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours, and we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And you can also tune into a large selection of our other podcasts and much more at his website. Again, that's holyokecanaltour.org. And again, you can email him directly for private tours or to inquire about anything else at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And be sure to keep an eye out for his upcoming 2024 season tours and more as they become available. Thank you for tuning in.